Look, I need you to understand something right off the bat. When a 24-year-old punk throws a jelly donut at your head and tells you to clean it up because that's what you're paid for, you've got two choices. You can take it, or you can do something about it. My name's William Anderson. I'm 56 years old, and I built Apex Technologies from a garage in Atlanta 25 years ago. That day, standing there with powdered sugar in my hair and grape jelly sliding down my neck, I chose option 2. But let me back up a bit. See, I wasn't supposed to be the guy getting donuts thrown at him. I was supposed to be the guy in the corner office, making decisions and playing golf with investors. Problem was, I'd been hearing things. Whispers from the board about toxic culture, complaints from HR that kept getting buried, good people quitting without explanation. When you spend a quarter century building something from nothing, those whispers hit different. I'm a Marine, served in the Gulf. We had a saying over there: if you want to know what's really happening on the ground, you don't ask the officers. You ask the guys filling sandbags. So I figured, if I wanted to know what was really happening at my own company, I needed to get down to ground level myself. That's how I became Billy the Janitor. The transformation wasn't pretty. Traded my $800 suits for gray coveralls that smelled like industrial disinfectant. Swapped my Rolex for a crooked name tag and a mop bucket that squeaked like a dying rat. My usually sharp haircut got a little shaggy, and I grew out some stubble. Amazing how invisible you become when you're holding a spray bottle instead of a briefing folder. I got myself hired through a temp agency. Not hard when you know the owner personally, though he didn't know it was me under the work clothes. My first day was a Tuesday in March. I was assigned to the 35th floor, prime hunting ground for what I was about to discover. The elevator ride up was my first education. I was sharing the space with 3 young guys in expensive suits, all swagger and loud conversation. The leader of this little pack was Brady Hamilton, though I didn't know his name yet. What I did know was that he was holding a venti coffee like it was a scepter and talking to his followers like he was delivering the 10 Commandments instead of regurgitating buzzwords from some LinkedIn influencer. It's all about perception management, Brady was saying, gesturing wildly. You've got to own the narrative. If you're not the alpha in every room, you're basically furniture. Then physics decided to teach Brady a lesson. His theatrical hand gesture sent that coffee flying. It didn't just spill, it erupted. Hot brown liquid painted the elevator wall, splashed across the floor, and managed to hit my work boots. The silence that followed was thick enough to cut with a knife. In my old life, this would have been the moment 3 assistants materialized with napkins and apologies. But I wasn't the CEO anymore. I was just Billy with the mop bucket. Brady looked at the mess, then looked at me. Not looked at me exactly, looked through me, like I was part of the elevator's machinery. He checked his expensive watch and sighed like the coffee had personally insulted him. What a disaster, he muttered. Then, without making eye contact, "Hey, janitor, clean this up. Try to get it done before we hit the lobby. It looks unprofessional." I gripped my spray bottle tighter. For a split second, I wanted to drop the act and tell him exactly who he was talking to, but that would have ended my reconnaissance before it started. So I swallowed my pride and mumbled, "Yes, sir." Brady stepped over the puddle like it was beneath him to acknowledge it further and walked out at the lobby without a backward glance. His buddies followed, one of them whispering, "Unbelievable." Yeah, I thought, wringing out my rag. Unbelievable was right. That first week taught me more about my company than 6 months of board meetings ever had. Turns out, when you're wearing coveralls, people talk around you like you're not there. I could stand 3 feet away from a merger discussion, scrubbing a whiteboard, and the executives wouldn't lower their voices. I was furniture. Useful furniture that occasionally moved in emptied trash cans. Brady Hamilton, I learned, was an associate product manager. In startup terms, that meant he was a glorified clipboard carrier with delusions of Steve Jobs, but he played the corporate game with the efficiency of a sociopath. I watched him operate near the break room one Tuesday morning. A quiet woman from accounting, Brooke something her name tag said, was struggling with a heavy toner cartridge. Brooke was the kind of employee who did 80% of the work and got 0% of the credit. Brady walked by, saw her struggling, slowed down, and checked his phone. "Excuse me, Brady," Brooke asked, voice trembling. "Could you give me a hand? It's jammed pretty tight." Brady didn't stop walking. "Sorry, got a hard stop in 5. Call facilities." That's what they're paid for. He breezed past her, leaving her flushed and struggling. 10 minutes later, Lance Parker, our VP of Operations, walked into the kitchenette. Brady materialized out of thin air like a vampire smelling blood. "Mr. Parker!" Brady boomed, flashing a smile that was all teeth and ambition. "I was just looking for you. Had some thoughts on that Q3 supply chain bottleneck." The contrast was so sharp it could have cut glass. To Brooke, Brady was a wall. To Parker, he was a doormat with aspirations. That night, back in my temporary apartment across town, a far cry from my house in Buckhead, I sat at a wobbly kitchen table with a cheap notebook. No laptop, no tablet, just spiral-bound paper and a Bic pen. I titled the page, "The Problem," and started listing names and incidents. The list grew longer each night. My hand cramped from writing, but the physical pain was nothing compared to watching my life's work get hollowed out by people who saw kindness as weakness. Thursday brought another elevator encounter with Brady. This time he was on a phone call, presumably with his girlfriend or maybe his mother, someone unfortunate enough to care about him. "I'm telling you, babe, it's locked in," he was saying, staring at his reflection in the mirrored ceiling. "I've got Parker eating out of my hand. The old guard doesn't have a clue. They're dinosaurs. I'll be running a division by Christmas." He looked down and saw me holding a trash bag. He didn't mute the phone or turn away, just looked at me with dead-eyed boredom. "Hold on, babe." Then to me, "You missed a spot in the conference room. Table's sticky." I gripped that trash bag like it was Brady's neck. The smell of someone's leftover tuna sandwich was making my stomach turn, but not as much as his attitude. "I'll get it right away," I managed. "Good." He turned back to his reflection. "Yeah, babe, like I was saying, it's too easy. These people are sheep." Sheep, I thought, dragging the bag behind me. Predators always mistake silence for surrender. That's usually the last mistake they make. The break room on the 35th floor was supposed to foster collaboration. Instead, it fostered backstabbing and caffeine addiction. It had exposed brick, an espresso machine that cost more than most people's cars, and a communal table made of reclaimed wood, the kind of place where knives got sharpened under the guise of team building. I was under the sink one Tuesday morning, supposedly fixing a leak, but actually tightening a bolt that wasn't loose, just to stay in earshot. The cabinet doors gave me a view of everyone's shoes, and I knew Brady's pointed leather ones by heart. Click, clack, click. There he was, followed by the shuffle of sneakers. Austin Reed, one of our junior developers. Austin was brilliant. I'd been watching his code commits on our private server. He was the kind of quiet genius who built the engine while guys like Brady painted racing stripes. "I don't know, Brady," Austin was saying, voice thick with anxiety. "The security patch isn't stable yet. If we push the update Friday, we risk a 4% data loss. That's thousands of user accounts. I need another week." I heard the espresso machine hiss. Brady was making himself a cappuccino while Austin poured his heart out about data integrity. "Austin, Austin, Austin," Brady purred, like an adult explaining quantum physics to a toddler. "You're thinking like a coder. You need to think like a winner. The client expects rollout Friday. If we delay, we look weak. I promised Parker we'd deliver." "You promised? But you didn't ask me." "It's my code. It's our team, buddy. Look, here's what's happening. We launch Friday. If there are bugs, we patch them Monday. It's called agile development. That's not agile. That's reckless. If we lose data, it's a PR nightmare. I can't sign off on this." There was a pause. The espresso machine stopped hissing. "You don't have to sign off, Austin." Brady's voice dropped an octave. Got cold. "I already told Parker the code is ready. If you contradict me in the stand-up meeting, you're not just making me look bad. You're making the whole department look incompetent. And I hear HR is looking to trim headcount in engineering next month. Hate for you to be on the wrong list." My hand froze on the wrench. This wasn't just being a jerk. This was extortion. Brady was gambling with our company's reputation to save his own skin. Austin went quiet. I could practically hear his spirit breaking. Student loans, rent, no political capital to fight someone who played golf with the VPs. "Okay," Austin whispered. "I'll patch it best I can. That's the spirit. Team player. Love it." They left. I stayed under that sink for a long time, breathing in damp wood and moldy darkness. My company had become a place where innovators got bullied into silence by imitators. I crawled out, knees creaking, and pulled out my burner phone. Dialed a number from memory, Diana Clark, our head of internal audit. Someone I'd hired 15 years ago who still believed in doing the right thing. Diana, it's Bill Anderson. Don't ask where I am. I need you to flag all code commits from the 35th floor product team, specifically anything scheduled for Friday. Don't let that update go live, sandbox it. Let them think it's live, but keep it isolated. I hung up. Brady wanted to play chicken with a cliff? Fine, I was moving the cliff. The weekly strategy meeting happened in the main conference room, all glass walls and corporate theater. I was sent in mid-meeting because someone had spilled a kale smoothie. The room was full of directors and VPs discussing our future like they were trading baseball cards. Derek Stone, Brady's manager, was leading the discussion. Derek was everything Brady wanted to be, louder, richer, more detached from reality. The issue isn't the product, Derek was saying, pointing at a downward trending graph. The issue is legacy drag. Too much overhead. We need to trim the fat. I sprayed the green sludge on the table, thinking about how Derek's expense account included $50 baked potatoes at client dinners. Exactly, a VP nodded. Leaner model. Automation. Outsourcing. Are we paying full benefits for Tier 1 support? It's a cost center. They were talking about people I knew. People like Paige in customer service who sent birthday cards to clients' kids. People like Cole in the mailroom who'd been with us since the garage days. They weren't people to Derek. They were red ink on spreadsheets. Don't get me started on facilities, Derek laughed. Do we really need an army of janitors? Half the time I don't even know what they do. I was standing 3 feet from him. My hand was on the table he was leaning on. The disconnect was mind-bending. He was looking at graphs while I cleaned his mess, asking what I did. Background noise, another executive chimed in. We can cut 15% there easy. Contract agency, lowest bidder, background noise. I finished cleaning and stood up straight. For one dangerous second, I considered dropping the act. Imagine the look on Derek's face if I told him the graph was trending down because he'd alienated our user base with that interface update he'd forced through last quarter. But the trap wasn't ready yet. That afternoon, I went to our server room. As a janitor, I had master key access for cleaning purposes. The irony was perfect. The most secure room in the building, protected by biometrics and firewalls, accessible to the guy with the mop because dust kills servers. I locked the door and sat at a terminal. My fingers, usually stiff from wringing rags, flew across the keyboard. I pulled up Derek's department logs, Brady's project files, the HR complaints database they thought was encrypted. I found a folder on Brady's shared drive titled Q4 Strategy. It wasn't strategy, it was a hit list. A detailed plan to discredit Lance Parker by framing him for the data migration failure Brady was engineering with Austin's code. He was going to crash the system, blame his boss, and step in as the hero. I copied everything to a secure cloud drive. Background noise, I thought. You're about to find out how loud background can get. Friday arrived with the software update hanging over engineering like a storm cloud. Brady was walking on air, celebrating a victory that hadn't happened yet. At 2 p.m., he walked into the kitchenette with 2 associates, Wade and Heath. They were laughing that braying pack laughter that signals trouble. I'm telling you, it was hilarious, Brady was saying. She actually thought I'd recommend her for the lead role. I told her, babe, you're great at scheduling. Maybe stick to what you know. They howled. Then Brady saw me changing a trash bag and got that look, that predatory smirk that meant someone was about to get hurt for his entertainment. Watch this, he whispered, loud enough for me to hear. He walked over with a half-eaten chocolate donut, jelly-filled and covered in powdered sugar. I was bent over, tying the bag. Whoops. He dropped it directly on my head. The sugar puffed into my hair. Jelly smeared against my neck. It was wet, sticky, humiliating. The kind of thing that stays with you. I froze. Not from pain, from the sheer indignity of it all. Oh, my bad, Brady exclaimed with fake concern. Slipped right out of my hand. Gravity's a killer, right? Wade and Heath were snickering behind their hands like middle schoolers. I stood up slowly, turned around, felt the jelly sliding down my collar. For the first time in weeks, I looked Brady straight in the eyes. Not at his shoes, not at his chin, right into his watery, soulless pupils. You did that on purpose. Brady's smile faltered for a microsecond, then hardened. He stepped closer, invading my space. He smelled like expensive mints and something rotten underneath. "Excuse me? I think you're confused. Accidents happen. Just like it would be an accident if someone filed a complaint about your attitude. I hear the contracting agency has zero tolerance for rudeness." He read my name tag with a sneer. "You need this job, don't you, Billy? Clean it up. And don't talk to me unless I'm paying you. You're here to serve, not speak." He turned and walked out, his goons following with pitying glances. I stood there shaking, not with fear but with anger. Pure, focused anger. I went to the utility sink, washed jelly out of my hair with harsh hand soap, scrubbed my neck raw, looked at myself in the mirror. Wet hair, red eyes, gray coveralls. "Want to play gravity, Brady?" I thought. "Let's test the physics of free fall." I didn't go home that night. I stayed in the building, pulled the security footage from the kitchenette, saved the clip. Brady Hamilton, assault, 2:03 p.m. Then I went deeper into the system. Found his salary, his bonus structure, his expense reports, including a client dinner at a strip club in Vegas labeled consultation fees. I compiled everything into a master file. The code sabotage, the bullying, the fraud, the donut. I called it the cleanse. The email went out Monday morning at 9 a.m. sharp, pinging every device in the company. Subject, mandatory all-hands meeting, strategic pivot and special guest to all staff. Please join us. Wednesday at 10 a.m. in the Grand Auditorium for a critical company update. We will be joined by founder William Anderson for a special address. Attendance mandatory. I was mopping near the bullpen when notifications hit. Heads popped up like prairie dogs sensing danger. "William Anderson," a designer whispered. "I thought he was retired or something." "Legend," another said. "Professor used his encryption algorithms as case studies." Then I heard Brady, leaning back in his chair, feet on his desk. "Great. Just what we need. A history lesson from Grandpa Internet. Bet he's announcing he's donating our bonuses to some veterans charity." Derek chuckled from his office. "Careful, Brady. He's still majority shareholder. Although word is he's getting a bit soft in his old age. Probably just collecting a dividend check and telling war stories." "I hope he doesn't drag it out," Brady said, spinning a pen. "I've got lunch reservations at the Optimist. I'm celebrating the launch." The launch. He still thought his update had gone live successfully. Didn't know his success was running in a sandbox I'd authorized Diana to create. Tuesday passed in a blur of anticipation. The office buzzed with nervous energy. People cleaned their desks, updated their LinkedIn profiles, prepared for whatever bombshell the founder might drop. Brady strutted around like a peacock in heat, telling anyone who'd listen about his vision for the company's future. "I'm hoping I get a chance to interface with Anderson," I heard him tell Wade by the water cooler. "Give him some fresh perspective. The old guard thinks small. We need aggressive growth strategies. He'll respect that. Leaders recognize leaders." I was restocking paper towels in the nearby bathroom, listening through the thin walls. Leaders recognize leaders, I thought, and predators recognize prey. Brady just hadn't figured out which one he was yet. That evening, I went to my temporary apartment and laid out my real clothes on the bed. Not the gray coveralls, but my navy blue Armani suit. Sharp shoulders, tailored waist, silk lining that whispered money and authority. I pulled out the pearl cufflinks my father gave me when I made my first million. The Italian leather shoes designed for walking into boardrooms and crushing egos. I sat at that wobbly kitchen table one last time with my index cards. Didn't need a teleprompter or fancy presentation. Just 3 bullet points on a single card. Identity, integrity, eviction. Wednesday morning arrived gray and crisp. I got to the building at 7 a.m., swiped my Blackmaster access card. The security guard, Grant, looked confused when it beeped the high-priority tone. He'd been seeing me as Billy the Janitor for weeks. "Morning, Grant," I said. My voice was different now. The CEO voice, the one that had closed million-dollar deals and fired VPs who thought they were untouchable. Morning, sir," he stammered, suddenly standing straighter. I took the elevator to the penthouse holding suite behind the stage. Time to transform from Billy back into William Anderson. Time to suit up for war. The auditorium was filling up below. I could hear the hum of 850 voices vibrating through the floorboards as I stood before the illuminated makeup mirror. The gray coveralls were gone forever. My hair was styled in the silver waves that had graced business magazine covers. I was ready. At 9:55, I slipped on my trench coat and oversized sunglasses. I needed to get from the holding room to the stage wings without being recognized by any stragglers. I took the service elevator down one floor to the stage level. The doors opened, and there was Brady with Derek and Lance Parker waiting for the VIP elevator to the front row. They were laughing about something, probably another employee they'd stepped on. Brady saw me, a figure in a trench coat and sunglasses coming out of the service elevator. Didn't recognize me, just saw another random body in his way. "Excuse us," he said, shouldering past me to get to the elevator button. "Staff entrance is that way, honey." Honey. He pressed the button impatiently, checking his watch like time was money, and he owned both. "Who was that?" Parker asked, glancing back at me. "Probably catering," Brady said dismissively. "Or maybe Anderson's nurse. I heard he's getting pretty frail." I paused at the stage door. Frail. I turned my head slightly, caught Brady's profile one last time. He was checking his tie in the elevator's reflection, preening like a peacock before the slaughter. "Enjoy the ride up, Brady. It's your last one." I pushed through the heavy door into the stage wings. Pierce, our stage manager who'd been with me for 15 years, was standing there with his headset on. He looked at me, trench coat, sunglasses, like some kind of corporate spy. I took off the glasses and unbuttoned the coat, let it slide off my shoulders. Pierce caught it automatically. He saw the navy suit, the pearl cufflinks, the look in my eyes. His weathered face broke into a slow, knowing grin. "Welcome back, boss. Good to be back, Pierce. Is the mic live?" "Hot and ready. You're up in 2 minutes. Intro video's rolling now." I looked past the curtain at the giant screen playing our company montage. Inspirational music swelled over images of young me coding in that Atlanta garage back when Apex was just a dream and a credit card. The crowd of 850 applauded politely, the kind of obligation applause you get when attendance is mandatory. The video ended. Screen went black. A single spotlight hit center stage. "Ladies and gentlemen," the announcer's voice boomed through the auditorium, "please welcome the founder of Apex Technologies, William Anderson." I took a deep breath, channeled every ounce of spilled coffee, every clean this up, every stolen line of code, every powdered sugar donut into my spine, stepped into the light. The sound of dress shoes on hardwood is unmistakable. Click, click, click. Percussive, assertive, sharp. I walked to center stage, gripped the podium with hands still rough from manual labor, and stared directly at the front row. The applause started, then faltered into confused murmurs. Because I didn't wave, didn't smile my benevolent founder smile, I just stood there and stared them down. I found him. Brady was center front row right between Derek and Parker. He was clapping politely, that same bored expression on his face he'd worn in every elevator ride. Then he looked up at me. Really looked. I watched the recognition hit him like a freight train. Confusion first, she looks familiar. Then the puzzle pieces slamming together. The height, the build, the eyes, the voice he'd heard mumble, "Yes, sir," 100 times. His hands stopped clapping mid-motion, froze in the air. His mouth dropped open. Blood drained from his face so fast you could watch it happen in real time. Tan to gray in 3 seconds flat. I leaned into the microphone. "Good morning." My voice boomed through the auditorium, filled every corner. "It's been a while. For most of you, I've been a portrait in the hallway, a signature on paychecks, a name on the building directory." I paused, let the silence stretch until it hurt. "But for some of you, I've been much closer. I've been riding elevators with you, cleaning your conference rooms, picking up your trash." A collective gasp rippled through the crowd. Murmurs of what and no way and holy shit. Brady sank into his chair like he wanted to disappear into the upholstery. "For the past 6 weeks, I've been working undercover as facilities staff. I wore gray coveralls, scrubbed your toilets, emptied your garbage cans. And I listened. I listened to how you speak when you think authority isn't watching. I watched how you treat the people who keep this building standing. I could see phones being pulled out, panic spreading through the director level like wildfire. I built Apex Technologies on integrity, on the principle that every person in this building matters. But somewhere along the way, we started mistaking arrogance for competence, started mistaking cruelty for leadership. I pointed directly at the front row, my finger like a loaded weapon. I saw managers stealing credit from their teams. I saw executives planning layoffs while booking first-class retreats. And I saw an associate product manager throw a donut at a janitor because he thought it was funny. Brady flinched like I'd slapped him across the face. The people around him physically recoiled, creating a gap in the seating like he had the plague. He told me to clean it up, called me background noise, said I was there to serve, not speak. I stood straighter, felt 10 feet tall, while I cleaned it up. And now I'm cleaning house. Brady Hamilton, stand up. He didn't move. Couldn't. He was shaking like a leaf in a hurricane. Stand up. Slowly, painfully, Brady rose from his chair. He looked like a child called to the principal's office, stripped of all his corporate armor, all his borrowed confidence. You have a software launch scheduled for today. Code you forced through despite your engineer warning it would delete user data. You plan to blame the failure on your VP to advance your own career. Parker turned to stare at Brady with a look of pure betrayal and disgust. How do I know this? Because I read your files while I was mopping the server room floor. I have recordings of you threatening junior staff, video of you assaulting janitorial personnel. I clicked a remote. The screen behind me lit up with the security footage. Brady in the kitchenette laughing, dropping the donut on my head, sneering while I cleaned up the mess. The audience gasped, a sound of genuine revulsion filling the hall. This is not Apex Technologies. This is a cancer. Your launch has been sandboxed. The code never went live. Your plan to frame your boss has been documented and sent to legal. Your employment ends right now. Real security, not the lobby guards, but serious men in black suits, walked down the aisle. Please escort Mr. Hamilton out of the building. He doesn't need to clear his desk. We'll mail him his things. Brady tried to speak, stammered something about jokes and misunderstandings, but they took him by the arms. As they dragged him up the aisle toward the exit, he looked back at me one final time, saw the woman in the navy suit standing where Billy the janitor used to be. Oh, and Brady? I called into the microphone. He stopped. The entire auditorium held its breath. You missed a spot. The door swung shut behind him with a satisfying thunk. I turned back to the crowd. The silence was different now. Respectful, terrified, but respectful. This is day one of the new Apex Technologies. We're conducting a full audit of our management culture. If you treat your staff like furniture, update your resume. If you think kindness is weakness, there's the door. I looked toward the back where the facilities team stood by the exits. To our support staff, our security team, our cleaning crews, I see you. Starting today, everyone else will too. We're raising base wages, 15% effective immediately. We're implementing zero tolerance for workplace harassment. The applause started at the back, wild, genuine cheering from people who'd been invisible for too long. Then the engineers joined in. The middle managers. Finally, even the surviving executives stood and clapped, probably fearing for their jobs. I walked off that stage feeling lighter than I had in 25 years. 1 hour later, I was back in my real office with its spectacular view of Atlanta. My assistant walked in with tears in her eyes. Mr. Anderson, there's a bucket outside your door. I smiled. Bring it in. She carried in that squeaky yellow mop bucket, looking confused. I reached into my desk drawer for a bottle of very expensive scotch, poured 2 glasses, one for me, one for the empty chair across from my desk. I looked at that ugly bucket. It smelled like lemon cleaner and honest work, but it was the most beautiful thing in the room. I raised my glass toward the bucket. To janitors, I whispered, and the messes we clean up. I drank alone, and for the first time in years, the office felt completely clean.